Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let us move on to our final session of the day entitled Alternative of Esports Job Opportunities in Esports Beyond Pro Players. Moderating this session, join me in welcoming back Mohd Farouq Patah, Director of Communications, Malaysia Electronic Sports Federation and content creator of C Gamer Mohd once again. Over to you, Farouq.
Thank you so much, our amazing MC, for the day, for that amazing introduction, opening once again for the third time of the day. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Malaysia Tech Month, probably brought to you by Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, or MDAG. And we're joining with our third segment for Esports Conference for the day on the title of Alternative of Esports Job Opportunities in Esports Beyond Pro Players. All right. And it's very important for us to actually highlight this topic as well, because people keep thinking that whenever they refer themselves to esports or the video game industry, people look at being a professional player as the only profession or career available in the market, which is untrue, which is why we've invited a number of guests to actually join us in paneling this amazing topic. Beginning with our first panel of the day, I would like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Hazman Hassan, the Chief Executive Officer or CEO of KITAMEN. Mr. Hazman, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, hi, Flavor. Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunities. Yeah, so nice to meet some, long-time friends, especially you, Clement, and Andrew himself. Yeah, I think this is, one of the things that, we are looking forward to, to have this kind of conversation, talk about, our industries, and hopefully it can open, be an eye-opener to everyone, that is looking forward to, be part of the industry itself.
I was about to cry when Hazman said all that, because it's been a while since we actually met. Yeah. I think last time we was actually doing one of his events right here. But Hazman, it's really great to actually see you right here, although virtually, and hopefully, inshallah, in the near future, we'll meet face-to-face, physically in real life. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. And of course, our second guest for today is none other than Mr. Clement, the President of Malaysia Esports Players Association, or MESPA, joining us today. Mr. Clement.
Hey, Flava. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to share what we can share during the whole Malaysia Tech Month. And I hope everyone can benefit a little bit from our sharing today.
Yeah, I feel bad because I'm about to inform everyone that Mr. Clement's IGN is actually called Bleed Senpai, right? So is there any, I feel bad because I didn't ask Hazman. Hazman, do you have an IGN of some sorts?
Yeah, my IGN is just a simple one. It's Zemang, Z-E-M-A-G. Why people ask that? Because I'm from Terengganu. I just added a G behind my name, that's all.
Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. Very patriotic. At least he remembers Terengganu. Okay. I'm very sure Clement doesn't have anything related to his state when it comes to Bleed Senpai. Clement, why? Why?
I need to change an N9 behind it. Yeah, I'll consider that deeply.
You would
Bleed
consider
Senpai N9.
No, here's the thing. When it comes to pride of your state in Negeri Sembilan, I'm surprised you said consider. Is that something?
The problem is I have high pride, but we have to get the approval if they allow me or not.
I see. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they have to be proud of me as well, right?
Okay.
It goes both ways.
I'm pretty sure Terengganu didn't approve Hazman's name, but he still went with it. But yeah, thank you so much, Clement. Thank you so much for joining us. He's our second panel for today. And of course, our third and final panel joining us for today is none other than Mr. Andrew Cheong, or more commonly known as Sir Cloud, all right, the founder of SC Esports, and he himself is an esports talent working as a host as well as shotcaster for esports events. So, Andrew, welcome. Okay, he muted himself.
I got it. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure being here as well, together with the other guests and yourself as well, Flava. And I look forward to actually sharing opportunities to everyone outside there, because people always see, when it comes to esports, people always think about esports players, but people always forget that there are many other aspects that help run the esports industry. So I look forward to sharing what are the opportunities there are in this and how to get involved with it.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Andrew. Like, do apologize for Andrew because I think he's too used working in esports as a talent where usually people would actually unmute the button for him. So he's not used to unmuting it by himself. All right. My apologies, Andrew, for not accommodating to your wants and needs for this event. Right. We humbly apologize. So, anyways, I would like to jump right into the topic itself. So if you don't mind, gentlemen, would that be fine? Clement? Hazman? Andrew? All right, cool stuff. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's simple as this. All right, you yourself, each one of you have different credentials and background when it comes to esports. Would you mind sharing to us what in what sector in esports are you working on right now? All right, so shall we start with Clement? All right, your past experiences and what you're working on right now.
Right. I used to be a semi-competitive player during the early days, I would say around 2009. And then I started.
May we ask what game it was?
It was Dota. It was Dota. Yeah.
Semi-competitive meaning you play rank, right?
I joined tournaments.
Okay, all right.
I win some, I lose some.
Okay.
Some of the OGs players in Malaysia, some of them are my friends. I mean, they were far more better than me, but we were very competitive among each other during the early days. And then to a point whereby I couldn't compete with them anymore. And then that's where I start to like, hey, you know, why don't I organize events instead, you know? And at the same time, that's where my casting career started, because I was like, you know, wanted to be a caster. There was so many little casters. I mean, Flava, you would know that time it was probably just me and you, and there was no one else. Probably give and take a few or so that we probably didn't hear that name anymore. You know, they probably retired. But then it was like, you know, we need more tournaments. We need credentials. I want to be a caster, and it's like, all right, not enough tournaments. Never mind. I host it. I run it. I be a caster myself. And that's where everything started to kick off, you know, running events, you know, digitally online first, and then slowly growing an online community, you know, and then eventually evolve into growing an esports teams, which is called MESPA. Right now it still exists, but it's no longer under my care. We brought competitive Hearthstone and Valorant scene into international standards, where I would say we put Malaysia flags into the world. You know, people see us representing Malaysia, and from there, I managed to meet up with some friends and investors as well, which we actually eventually created Panelists, which was Malaysia's first esports center, and up to right now, I'm currently on May, I was elected to be the president of MESPA, Malaysia Esports Player Association. So basically, we are trying to fight and educate and empower professional esports players, especially in Malaysia, their rights, and of course to educate them what they can do and what they should be aware of. And I mean, the list is very long, but basically player association, whatever you can think about players, that's what we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, after hearing Clement's remarks, you know, on what he has been working on and what's working on right now, I felt that we should have changed the topic to alternative job opportunities for people who didn't make it as esports athletes. But, you know, I just realized, like, yeah, none of us made it as esports athletes. But yeah, thank you so much, Clement, for actually sharing that. That is superb, right? And next, I mean, like, it's either Hazman or Andrew. Which one of you would like to go next?
I can go first.
All right, Hazman, yes.
Yeah, I think, you know, in terms of personas, I'm totally different from Clement. You know, I don't play competitively, but I play a lot of video games, you know, since my uni days. Just a little bit of history. I graduated my architecture studies, you know, in 2010. So before I joined, you know, esports as, you know, actively, or video gaming industry itself, I at least I worked professionally for at least 4 years before I really ventured out into esports itself, or video gaming. How KITAMEN started was, we call them the intention to give, you know, every gamer, you know, everybody in the world to, you know, experience video gaming. So that's why we came up with this simple idea, you know, creating, we call them the esports dojo. Okay, so how esports dojo works is that we just provide, you know, conducive space. Okay, it's not like, you know, an arena or whatever. It's just like, you know, people come play, you know, hang out with friends, and to, you know, come along and play together. So from there, that, you know, from that, then that's where I started my esports journey. That coincidentally, it started, during the same month when ESM, it was before MESF was launched. They were called ESM, right? So coincidentally, the same month I remember, ESM was launched there. So it garnered the interest of me. Hey, how I can venture into esports, because I know, because like everybody says, esports is the future and everything, right? And from there we started our esports journey, and from there we started venturing into physical space, events, organization, production, and that's I think starting from that, that's how I met people, all the wonderful people here, especially you, Fleva, Clement. We worked together during the Pantheon days, and Andrew, even though I may not know him, but maybe we know from some kind of different world, or different arenas or whatever. So that's a little bit about me. And as of now, I think we're gonna go. I think you have some questions that you're gonna ask later. I think I will dwell much more deeper into that, on what we are doing currently. And I think that's all from me. Thanks.
All right. I'm surprised he said that is all from him. He actually shared quite a lot of things right here. And we'll get to dwell more into what he's been working on as well later on throughout our discussion today. All right. So next, last but not least, Andrew, Sir Cloud. Once again, Sir Cloud.
Yeah, once again. This time I'll be sure to unmute my mic.
Okay.
Thank you, Flower. So my coming into esports has been since about 2018, and not that long, to be honest, but because I've spent actually most of my time working in the corporate world for more than 10 years before I took it as a serious hobby, and now it's a career for me. So my view of esports has always been trying to fill a gap in esports. So it even started off like, I started as a content creator. So because I played Dota like forever, right? And since Dota 1 back in the day, and it's been like almost more than 17 years now that I've played Dota. There's always been this problem with Dota. And the problem is that Dota is a very complex game. It's very hard for newbies to actually get to the game. I think people who play Dota, you guys will know what I mean. And so instead of me making a fuss out of it, I decided to just one day like, okay, why don't I just create content around Dota just to educate people how to play it. Like whether people watch it or not is a separate story. So I did written content. I shot tutorial videos just to teach people how to play Dota and stuff. And from then onwards, I was recommended to like, hey, why don't you try shoutcasting? And I'm like, okay, what's that? It was never in my mind that it's something that we can do it locally, because we always think like, oh, these are done by international production. So it wouldn't imagine that this was the opportunity. This was an opportunity until I tried out myself, and then practice after practice, and the rest was history after that. And when it comes to the current setup of SE Esports, which I wanted to share a little bit more as well, is that this was born out of also filling the gap in the industry. Because in the industry, when it comes to the topic of esports, everyone will always talk about, esports players, but people forget the importance of management in esports as well. Importance of management, importance in coaching, analyzing the back-end things that actually help run an esports organization. So I started up this SE Esports together with a couple of partners. So we are an official registered organization in Malaysia, and our program is actually focused on giving opportunity to people who want to try out management in esports. So it's going to be different, like the things they need to know, the network they need to build, and all that. And on top of that, of course, they get the opportunity to build their teams, which is the platform that we provide, and they go on with their own success stories. So most of my journeys, I can say, when it comes to esports, is more to fill up a gap in the industry. And here I am today.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for actually sharing. Now we want to jump straight to the questions, all right? The first question is this. Quite a big opening, I would say. Does education certificates such as SPM, diploma, degree, master's, anything, all right, or PT3, and they even matter or play a big role in applying for a job within esports, all right?
So who want to go? I'll go first, is it?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right. Does education, any certification, SPM, regardless, diploma, degree, plays a big role in playing a job within esports. Let's take this in the form of, an employer perspective. Maybe I can, talk more about employee perspective. Is if you look at earlier, like Carlos mentioned that when you want to apply for a job, especially you say that you can do everything, especially when you go into, hey, I want to apply for a marketing job, right? And I remember that the first thing that he asked is that how passionate are you in esports, right? I remember that he says, have you been, have you organized tournaments? Have you eventually go to Reddit, be actively engaged in all those Reddit sub forums, be on Twitch, at least have a little bit of, to show that you are really, interested in it. Not just say that, everybody can talk, right, about, I can do every single thing, right? But I think, to answer that question, I think it's more about, let's talk about ourselves. How passionate are you really into esports? Okay. As you know now, currently, that the world that we live in right now, I think you can literally do anything. Even just as simply dancing on TikTok. Just shoot yourself without saying anything and get so many viewers and make money out of that. It all goes back to ourselves if you are passionate enough. But looking back at myself, as an employee, when you look for people, right, you need to look at a different angle now current days, because in terms of knowledge seeking, you want to learn something new, you can always learn that from so many sources. Okay, back 10 years ago, that we only have limited resources. You have to go to unis, you have to attend tuition schools or attend seminars. But now I think the world is limitless. You can just apply for short courses via internet from Udemy or Master Skills. And again, in terms of the angle, is that you need to look at the person itself, right? How passionate, number one, and number two is how willing are them to learn new things. I'll give you an example. For example, that currently I'm doing like a little bit of education thing with students. Mostly the people that want to come, they want to be a pro player. Okay. The problem is becoming a pro player, right? Okay. Normally the tips is what I tell them is go buy yourself, really powerful handphone, right? For example, iPhone 3 is going to be out. Just go get them. Okay. And just scream every single day, get noticed and everything. And number two, of course, if you're on PC, just buy the most expensive PC that you can play, for example. Okay. But in terms of quality, right, maybe this is just based on my experience. Maybe some might disagree with me. In terms of quality, maybe graduates are, in terms of professionalism, they might have a little bit more quality, if you're looking for people that have good attitudes, okay? But when graduates come in, they come in as a package, right? But people, that are not qualified or don't have any certificate, not to say that they don't have the package, but it is in the matter of, looking back at their attitude and try to understand them, and, slowly you groom them into, the person that you want them to be, okay? And I think in the end, yes, I'm going to say that qualification doesn't really matter. It's your attitude, your passionate, your willingness to learn. And again, I think that is, I don't know if Clement or Andrew will agree with me. I think that is the first thing that I will look for. Okay. So anyone wants to, yeah.
So before we jump to Clement or Andrew, I just want to highlight that when it comes to all this certification, right? Because usually, because people think of esports as a video game industry. So like, is there any extra requirements that they're needed? Do they have to be good at games? What kind of what kind of special skill sets or knowledge that would give them an edge in applying for a job in the esports industry?
Yeah, when we talk about esports in general as an industry, right? Okay, it's just how like oil and gas work, right? You have the what you call it, the behind the line, the under the line kind of thing, right? All those rigs and all those offshore things. So it would similarly in esports, right? There's a segment that we call playing professionally, like esports organization. There's also called like ourselves. Maybe I can call myself as an esports backenders. Okay, we work back end, making sure that thing goes on. Where eventually maybe people might not know KITAMEN as how much they know Flavor, for example. I give an example, okay? Because we normally work in the back end. It's about, going back to the question, is that I believe that is getting to know the right people is way much better than having, a lot of people getting to know you. All right. Yeah,
that's interesting because in 2016, see, I even Googled some stuff. So apparently KITAMEN actually had a vacancy, and one of the requirements, basically this the two of the requirements was a degree in any field. Second one was well-groomed, and the third one was interesting. The person must have played at least 50 game titles. Okay, but of course, let me mention this.
Yeah.
The job vacancy was for an outlet manager, okay, for one of KITAMEN's. This one, yeah, even
but I guess it depends on what field that you want to go. If you want to be a player, I think you have you must have maybe not to play 50 games, but excel in the one game that you play. If you want to be in production, maybe you have at least a little bit of knowledge about it. Then when we ask you, you should at least know, right? Okay, I think that's prove that you know. Similar how Carlos mentioned. Okay, if you want to be in management, right, show that you are interested in management. All right, if you want to be a host like Flavor, I show that at least you have a portfolio. Even you can just record yourself at home. At least you have something to show. I think that just shows how passionate and how serious you are. Okay, another thing I can add on: be serious about yourself. Okay, on who you want to be.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Thank you so much, Hazman. I think Hazman alone has actually covered a lot of grounds. That unless Clement or Andrew, you want to add on anything on this?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. I think that actually education, it's actually a measurement of your level of thinking as well to a certain extent. So the current world of esports, I do believe that it is still very self-driven and you need to initiate things a lot on your own first, whereby let's say, like for example, it's given, right? You want to be a shoutcaster, you want to be a commentator, for example, you need to create your own portfolio in the first place. You just live some shows and then you try and do it, and that becomes your portfolio and you show it around. If you want to be an esports producer, you try and create some simple shows, some overlays, and then you go live it, and then that becomes your portfolio, something like that. And I still believe that it is very, if you want that, you need to do it first on your own, and then you present it to someone, and then someone buys your ideas. They say, hey, okay, that's great. Let's get your services in. And when it comes to the topic of education, that to me would be a secondary topic at this point, but it's important as well because education is the one that actually differentiates the just doers and also doers plus the thinkers. So it actually helps to shape the thought process of people. So I still find the importance of education really, really high in esports, despite it is still a very hands and legs on do first sort of industry.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you so much, for this. All right, so we want to jump into a new topic right here. I think we want to go dwell in specific questions to some of our speakers. Let's start with Andrew, right? So should it even, like, do people call you Andrew? Do people call you sir? Or do people I know Sultan calls you sir, but how do we address you?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I start to forget my actual name.
Oh my goodness.
And in esports, it doesn't help that there are a couple of Andrews. So I differentiate myself by people calling me Sir Cloud, so that's fine.
All right, so Sir Cloud, okay, I do have a question for you, right? You are an esports talent. You did shoutcasting, you do a little bit hosting as well for esports events and all this. Now, knowing that we've already had that for a while, I mean, like even back in the days, you've already been a number of shoutcasters, talents, like analysts and all this. It looks saturated, but is it oversaturated to a point where is there still room for new talents such as casters, analysts, and hosts to make it big in esports?
I think there is. I think now, especially with the pandemic, a lot of things have been moved online. So what thrived throughout the past year is actually esports industry, because it is an industry where you're able to perform everything online. I can work 100% at home. In fact, sometimes I don't even leave the home for almost a month.
Okay, all right. So be like Sir Cloud. He follows the government's orders and stays at home. All right. Yeah. So, like, my next question will be this: if you want to become a talent in esports, maybe hosting, shoutcasting, or even as a host, how do you become one? Because this is a little bit different, because earlier we heard from Hazman that he highlighted, oh, people do apply to actually get jobs. For example, vacancy to actually become a production manager, to actually become a studio manager, to apply a job under an employer. But for talents, you're not really under one employer, but you're under a number of employer because it's a freelance job. So how do you begin your journey to become an esports talent?
I would say it's like how I began as well. So you just do it on your own. And that's why I still believe that esports is still a very do-first industry. You have to do it on your own. Let's say, oh, I want to be a shoutcaster, I want to be a commentator. You have to cast a game. So how do you do that? And a lot of people ask me that. How do you start off? It's very simple. You just watch a game and then you cast, and then you record it and then make it your portfolio. And as you get better with it, you feel more confident, you bring that as your portfolio, you propose it to someone and say, hey, this is my portfolio. Can I cast for your tournament? And yeah, it's just like that. It's as simple as that.
All right. Wow, that's actually great and compact. It's very easy to learn. So it's a very do first, where you have to actually perform it first and then form this into a portfolio and then showcase it to potential people, potential employers, I would say, who would want to hire you for their activities or events. All right. Very, very nice insights. And also, this is a very important question. Like, to become a talent in esports, right? Not everyone has the talent for it. So is there a place where they can actually obtain training to become a talent? Is there a platform where people can actually learn how to become a talent?
I think at this point, there's no formal training to it. And to be honest, I don't know if the market is ready for this as well. I think there were a few startups who tried to venture into this sort of training sector, but I'm not sure if the market is ready, as in is there enough volume in the market or not. So instead of going having formal trainings or certification of how to become esports talent, which I don't think anyone is actually doing that right now. There are some community level people who's open and willing to share knowledge. So even for myself as well, I host my own scrims on my own, and I'm very happy to accommodate for anyone who drops me a DM and to say that, hey, I haven't tried casting before. Can you help me out? How do I start off? And yeah, can we practice together? I'll be like, yeah, sure. Because I host scrims from time to time and it feels bored to cast alone. So yeah. So I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Come on. So that's where I do practical practice with some people. And I'm glad to say that even just through community, just this kind of community approach, one of them has even casted up to the pro league through this community approach. So I would still say that, yeah, these are also very self-initiated stuff. It's also partly because I can tell everyone that, hey, I have this platform, I'm willing to share my knowledge and all that, but it still has to be somebody responding to me and say, hey, I'm putting out my hand, can I do it? Yeah, and that's also a sign of courage to actually put out the hand and say, I'm willing to try it, although I've not tried it before. So again, it still comes back to this being a very self-initiated thing, but if you think that you cannot find the right platform for it, you create the right platform for yourself. You search for it. Be proactive.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sir Clef, for that amazing insights. Now, I really do have one really important question. I want to be as honest and transparent as possible. All right. Now, being an esports talent is mainly a freelance job. All right. Is it enough to pay the bills and make a living, or does it require the talents to actually take up another permanent job to support it? What's your insight on this?
Right. I get asked that a lot, and sometimes my mom even asks me hey, are you okay? So I guess it depends on your level as well. If you just started, it's probably a bit tough. So when I first started as well, I took it more as a serious hobby because it's just something that it's out of my interest. I never thought of making a career out of it back in the day. But then things grew. I was given more opportunity, and here I am today. I would say at the stage where I am, it's okay, but what I believe in is that because this is it's somewhat like a freelance gig. So when it comes to a freelance gig, you should treat it as a business. So if you talk about business, and I think Hazman, you're very well aware about businesses as well, is that you cannot rely on one income stream. It's very, very risky. So at the end of the day, if you think about this as a business, even as an esports talent, you would try to do multiple things as an income stream. So I would say it's okay probably for a short to mid-term, but for a long term, it has to grow. So it has to have multiple income streams as just any other business.
Wow, those are amazing answers. Thank you so much. So even though there are possibilities of it becoming like you're able to actually pay the bills and sustain as a career, but to be on the safe side of saying you want to have multiple income streams, right? Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. All right, next up, I'm going to jump into Mr. Clement. All right, so Mr. Clement, you've had experiences in various fields. I think you shared this at the start of your introduction right here, from doing shortcasting, you participate in esports tournaments, you've organized events, you've managed an esports center, and not just a small kecil esports center, it's legit like an esports center called the Pantheon and more, right? Now, being part of the esports scene for so long, right, since the early days, how much of a difference is a scene now compared to how it was back then?
It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. I think Hazman also mentioned, like back in the days when we started, you know, resources were so limited. You know, even though we were playing games online, but the amount of things that we need is so limited that we really need to go to the person, the right person, or the right place to actually get the information that we need. It's not that Googleable, you know. I'm not even sure if that's the word, but you can't Google about it. But now it's really easier to find the information that you need. For example, like actually, I'd like to touch on a little bit about some of the questions that you asked Sir Cloud just now. You know, I call him Sir Cloud. To be fair, there were some initiative ran by KBS that I know of. One of them was led by me, which is called Esports Skills. We actually sort of educated the mass public on the job opportunities and also what is esports about. So the topic is pretty straightforward. If you have zero knowledge about esports, that's the conference or that's the workshop that you go to. You know, we talk about you know, how do you do what's the ideal setup for a live streaming. You know, what's the ideal if you want to be a team manager, what do you need? What's the knowledge that you need? If you want to be a, you know, if you want to run an esports center or maybe even a small cyber cafe, whatever it is, you know, what's the knowledge that you need? You know, it's not just only that. I mean, the list goes on. So there are some initiatives that's actually done by some parties that I know of. So those who really want to know more, do spread your eyes out, you know, and ask around. They actually have these kind of initiatives run occasionally, and it's really good to understand. I mean, this Malaysia Tech Month itself is one of them. You know, this is where I would say this is one of the platform already. You don't need to create a specific, you know, apc.com.my platform to say, hey, come here and learn. You know, tune up to conferences or, you know, or talks like this, you know, workshop like this. This is where you gain direct insights from people who are in the industry itself, rather than some guy who just started to do streaming and he's going to teach you how to do streaming, you know, example. I'm not trying to say anything, but yeah, you know, people would, you're right. For example, if I were to ask Flower, you know, to come with a workshop of how to be a host, you know, within it like that, he can think of it already because he don't need to prepare because that's his life experience. If I were to ask Hazman, you know, how do you create a multi-chain, you know, retail outlet, you know, how do you create events, you know, just like that, you know, Hazman has it. If I were to ask Andrew, you know, if I want to grow an esports community team, you know, I want to do shortcasting, how do I do it? Same thing is just like that. And he can just think, it's never ending. It's going to be a 1 hour talk, So people like this, they know what they're doing. It's their life, so it's easier. So these are the people that are normally invited by workshops, talks, seminars like this. So spread your eyes out. So the difference back then, we don't have all these. If I want to run an esports team, who do I go to? No one. If I want to run a retail, no one. Hey, Flower, how to shortcast? Just talk only lah. It's just like that. I still remember my first time casting in Flower. Flower did 90% of the talking, I did 10%. It was not his fault. It's just I didn't know what to say. Because I was inexperienced. But right now, you have so many YouTube videos, Twitch. You have people like Sir Cloud who is willing to, spread their hands out and give you a hand, and say like, hey, you want to cast? You want to learn how to cast? Come, DM me. I'll teach you how. I'll guide you how to learn from me. I'll tell you what's your mistakes. So that's the biggest difference between previous, or I would say, let's just take the 10 years. We won't say too long. Let's just say 10 years. 10 years is 2011 to now. That's the biggest difference. Right now, we have so many resources, and I would say things will go on more faster. It took me like 8 years to have a vision of Pantheon. Right now, people can just take like 6 months, have some money, have some network, and they can create another Pantheon if they want. That's the biggest difference right now, because there is a sample. It's all about sampling. Sampling. You know how to refer to. You know who to refer to, what to refer to.
Oh, thank you so much, Clement. That was a lot. That was a lot to take in. All right, it's true. I'm guessing that back in the days you didn't have much resources. I believe you were part of also the pioneer number of people who actually started off in the esports industry. But because when you're at the starting line, there's not much resources. So basically, you end up being a resource for future generations to actually refer to. So it took you a much longer time to actually set up things like you mentioned. It took you a number of years to actually envision Pantheon, what it's about to happen. But then since people have that as a point of reference, it's much easier for people to actually start things off. I believe it works the same as how Sir Cloud mentioned before, where I think during his time, becoming shoutcaster was not an easy fit for him. But for now, since people have a lot of references, it's much easier for people to actually have a career in esports, because there's a lot of people to refer to, or a lot of resources in social media or even in digital technology to refer to. All right, great insights. Now, I also want to touch a little bit about you being the president of the Malaysia Esports Players Association, or MESPA, correct? First of all, congratulations. You were recently appointed, if I believe it was a month plus ago, as the new president for the association.
It was around May.
So basically that was roughly around, I even forgot what mine is. That's 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
There was 3 months. So congratulations. Now,
thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about MESPA and what kind of aid or protection does MESPA provide for esports players or athletes?
All right. So MESPA, first of all, MESPA itself means Malaysia Esports Player Association. We are actually registered under ours. So, just search yourself, you'll find us. We are fully registered, and our main objective, actually MESPA, I would say, was the idea came from a friend, which then took two other friends, including me, myself. So one is Flavor himself, and another one is Master Rahman, to say, hey, this community or this esports is lacking one thing, that time, I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken, where we had a lot of tournaments coming up. Esports starts to bloom, government starts to have their eyes on esports. There was grant here and there, and then people was like, hey, let's do more tournaments. And then that's where things starts to get messy. And I mean, messy is not caused by government. No, that's a very good initiative. It was caused by organizers or people who wants to be organizers, where they have zero experience, and then when they organize, they was missing so many things. Contracts. Payment terms was like half a year or maybe even a year, or some even don't get paid. And then they were organizers wasn't treated well. Even publishers, some managed to deal with international publishers, but and things goes very messy, Then that's where Rahman, me, and of course Mohd himself we say like, hey, we need to create an association whereby we can educate and empower players. In the early initiative of MESPA, we wanted to help and protect players if they're in any special cases where they are being what would be the right word? Okay, this is not the right word, but I think you get the understand the meaning. It's like they're being bullied by a specific party. All right.
No, we don't get it. We don't get it. Like bullied how? Like bullied how?
It's like for example, like they say, oh, it's normal in our terms, it's 90 days payment, or it's half a year payment, or we don't get the payment. If we don't get the payment, we can't pay you, and then that takes forever, right? And I mean, people who do events, we know that sometimes payment comes in late. Or some, maybe yes, we get some half 50% payment or whatever it is, but it still depends. It still depends, and then that's where we wanted to help these players at least claim back some of their money or to educate them. That's where also I managed to ring in a good friend of mine, Mr. Richard Wee from RWC Trainers. He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer, and then that's where. And that time he was building an esports lawyer team. So yes, and right now it's already done. He does have a team who specialize in esports. And then that's where I say, hey, we need professional consultation. We need professional advice from him. And then that's where we created MESPA. We at the early days, we didn't want it to be the office bearers. We just wanted to be the advisors. We wanted to let people who were actually in the industry as a professional player to protect the players themselves. But there were a lot of challenges. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy job. And then, the previous president, Miss Tiffany, did very, very good job. But even though she did a good job, I was still facing a lot of problems. Now, that's where MESPA this year, we want to change a little bit of our direction. We want to more on educate and empowerment, creating more make sure when you join a tournament, what should be done, make sure if this happens to you, what should you do, and if you face this problem, how should you do? And of course, we want to take the power of social media to actually give pressure. If a certain company actually is not following a specific recommendation and run a tournament, but we want to eventually, hopefully, stand by what every organizer out there and say, hey, we want to have a look at your terms, so that we can protect all the players itself. For example, I hope we can be the first one with KITAMEN, like KITAMEN, you do any tournament, show us your contract, and then we just review. We don't do anything, we basically just review, and we say, hey, this is a very good contract, and I think players or people or players who wants to be a professional esports player or a semi-pro going to pro, this is a good tournament, this is a good contract, go ahead and support. That's all we do, we just want to help out. We're not saying that, hey, your tournament is run wrongly, you cannot do this, you can. No, we're not here to do that. That is done by the publisher, that is done by you, the organizer itself. We're just here to protect the player. We say, let us look at the payment terms, let us look at the player contract. It's very good, or we suggest in terms of legal-wise, this is where you should change, and this is where. So if you're not, we're just going to post out a statement and say, hey, be careful of this clause. Be careful of this. That's all we're going to do, So we're just going to inspire some pressure from them. But hopefully from there onwards, every tournament will be run fair and square, and players will be protected. But of course, if we were to say, if players is protected, who's going to protect the organizer? And then that's another story for another day. All right. But for MESPA part, we are here to protect the players.
Let me just check my phone. Okay. I would be, if I was KITAMEN right now, I would be worried getting a text from Clement. I hope that he was just using that as an example, but not like like has that ever happened? Like Hazman has, no, like, I don't know, probably in the future, since he's now president of MESPA. So if you do receive a text from Mr. Clement, be careful. It's either he's saying hi or he has a lawyer suit up for you. No, but jokes aside, thank you so much, Clement. I think that clarified a lot on what MESPA is and what MESPA is ready to do in order to assist and also further develop the esports industry right here. I think since I believe that I do have a lot of questions. I do have one more question, if you don't mind, on MESPA. Was the formation of MESPA really needed to happen? Because to my understanding, we have an esports federation. Is the esports federation, so MESF. Is MESF not doing that, and that's why MESPA had to be formed?
I wouldn't say it that way. I would say MESF or ESM previously, when we formed, it was still called ESM. I mean, they've been trying their best to do what they can. But then, like I said, those were the early days. People wouldn't have a lot of resources, and even if they have the right resources, they might not be able to execute it well. So I mean, everyone faced challenges during that time. I faced challenges. I mean, MESPA faces challenges as well. We were on hiatus for about 2 years, give and take. We couldn't do much because of limited resources as well. So I think it will be the same for any other parties out there. But for MESPA itself, the formation is different compared to ESM formation. ESM, it's more on the whole all state level, national level. Growth development. Here and there. We are just focusing on players only. So same. Why would you have FAM, and why not just have football yourself? Why would you need that? I think that's the same definition of us. We're just here to protect players. We don't want to touch anything to your organization, but we're just here to advise you, and then here to say that, hey, this is good, and it's good. Like, for example, I mean, I'm just teasing Hazman, but if Hazman would like to work with us, that's very good. Imagine this, when we're up to a certain level, and then we say that we just put our logo there on your organization, and just say that MESPA has really read through this, and by the backup of actual lawyers, actual esports lawyers, you have everything ready. And as a player, if I were to join this tournament, what's there to be afraid of? There's nothing to be afraid of. It gives assurance to a certain players, and it gives credibility to the organizer itself. Organizers will be very happy. Will say like, hey, yes, we got this. We got in the end. In the way, it will be a different way around. Hazman shouldn't be afraid of us. Hazman should be very happy that we are interested to have a look. That's why we help each other to grow. I don't know if Hazman thinks the same way, but that's how I'm trying to portray the message.
Let me just say that, right? I think it's a wonderful thing. I remember you talking about back in those days, there were no resource, right? Who to refer to. But again, I think it's a good stepping stone whereby, this kind of thing should have. It's going to be a point of reference for, people nowadays and also to the future. I guess everybody believes, that everything must be innovated, right? For example, you start with something and we get more and more people, just talk about all the alternative esports job opportunities. I think everybody can be a president, even the founders, even can be a lawyer in esports. I think there's so many things, but just talking on the perspective, in the perspective of the MESPA itself, right? I think there's also a lot of job opportunities, maybe research into all this kind of legality. And I think in the future, I think that it's good that we're going to have very good reference. And those reference, just the same how Clement said, back in those days, I could not Google whether that was the right way. I could not Google how to do this and do this. But I guess if MESPA start this thing, I think it will ease our future generation of esports. And that's how we as an industry grows. All right, we need each other back. Okay. Yeah,
right.
Just adding that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Clement. Thank you so much, Hazman, for that addition as well. All right, I think Hazman was trying to butter Clement up to not check up on their rules and regulation. But anyways, Hazman, all right, I think we're going to go to Hazman nowadays. We're really short on time, but really want to go on Hazman. Yeah. So Hazman, I think KITAMEN has a big operation center called Epicenter in Sungai Buloh, Selangor. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, which part of its operation is serving as a training center for esports athletes. I believe that the ground floor you have an arrangement for consoles and also
Yep.
PCs for athletes to perform. But due to pandemic, that was not possible. Now, the question to you is, what has become of the esports center now in order to adapt to the COVID situation? Because it's a running business for you. It's a job opportunity for your employees and much. So
Yes.
how do you recuperate from this and how do you turn things around?
Well, I think everybody is facing the same issue, regardless of any businesses. I think they are facing this pandemic, as well as we are facing it. The difference, maybe the difference between us and them is that the thing is, we just open up for 5 days, and the government, had to announce that we had to close down everything from there. Just imagine, you only had 5 days to operate. Basically, the planning was like very long time. Then you managed to open it for 5 days. Then the lockdown came along. And I think we have to pivot in no matter what, because the thing that happens is not within our control. So it's good that if you need to look at the risk management here, right? If we want to continue, there's nothing you can do because it's not under my control. Only the government can say yes. So the thing is that we should focus on the things that we could control. The wonderful about, I think, Clement and Sir Cloud itself, right? I think the good thing about gaming or esports itself is that we can literally live everywhere, right? Especially in the online world, okay? And the next thing is just we have to focus on what resources that we have, all right? The resource might maybe some equipments, people, or maybe some connections that we have. Always goes back, always go back to the drawing board and think what we should do. So from there, then we identify, okay, we have so many clients, and we had to shift our, normal business into corporate services, whereby, we had to go back to the drawing board, pitch to corporate companies, multinational companies, government companies, and every single person that we have on our table, all right? So from there, I think I like Sir Cloud say, you have to do something because there's nothing else that you can do. You have to do something first, all right? And get noticed. It's similar how you want to get involved in esports itself, all right? If you just want to start up, okay, it's okay. If you start as a crew first, that's where you start, connecting with new people, get to know people, right? Especially in esports. Nowadays, it's so easy. You can just literally connect with every single one, in Malaysia, from all around the world. Even we have this wonderful event today, we can communicate people with every single person, wherever they are. And yeah, I think it's about moving on. You just remember that the things that you cannot control, I think you just forget about it and just move on. All right. If your girlfriend dumps you, just move on. It's simple as that. I'm trying to, give a simple message to everyone, right? And move on and think of new ideas and, connect back with friends. I think number one is networking. Make sure you have very good networking. You have friends that are there to support you. I think that's the most important thing. And yeah, that's how we manage, the COVID situation. All right.
All right. And knowing, since we're talking about KITAMEN, right? In terms of expansion, I think you guys come also a long way where before this, if I recall, KITAMEN it originally was just a normal cyber cafe for consoles. Yeah. And then you expand it into actually doing event organizing, you do productions and all this. So due to pandemic, of course, all this kind of slowed down because it brought a lot of difficulties on all this. So how do you go about this? Since you don't have any physical activities going on, do you resort to online and all this?
Yeah, we do online, mostly basically private online events for like I just mentioned earlier, for banks, for the sports clubs. Well, I guess if you look anywhere right now, it doesn't matter anywhere. If you look at Petronas, Shell, I think they have this so-called private events doing their own internal sports activity, whereby they appoint organizers like us, just to organize privately, which again, that's just another sub-business that you can literally focus on. It's a niche business. And from that as well, that there's an opportunity for people to, get a job as a freelancers, especially, like the talents, like a host or shoutcaster. I think that's the most important thing is that, when you have an opportunity, it's always good to offer you as a business or an employer, offer more opportunities to people from there. And yeah, in terms of, moving forward, I think we are going to tax, which I could not disclose now since we normally work inside. I would call myself, maybe KITAMEN, we are more into experimental company right now. And we also involve ourselves into education. Right now, we are closely working with a local college, actually doing a program called an Esports Apprentice. So right now we are managing almost, I think, around 360 students altogether. All right, that's quite a lot. Okay, but our approach is that it's not to make them into a pro esports player, but we want to make them. Okay, I'll take the case as maybe the title of this panel itself, we can call it, if you don't succeed in esports, what you're gonna be. All right. So we more focus on general fundamental knowledge, where basically we teach them how to become a marketeer, become a PR specialist, become a content creator. Because let's say if one day you do not succeed, okay, I'll give you an example. If you do not succeed, but at least those skills that you harness throughout your experience can take you anywhere. You can just go to maybe the food industries. Okay, I can do content. You have portfolios. I can go to even oil and gas companies doing become the social media manager. Because right now, I think in terms of technology, there's so many jobs. There's so many opportunities. Right, even companies hire TikTokers to be part of their marketing campaign as a talent, as a freelancer. I think that's even our approach in education, and we're also working quite closely with ITM, that we're gonna apply the same thing. It's all about education and reality, right? What you learn, because it depends on the market itself, how the market wants it. All right. I don't know whether it's good, whether if we supply more than the demand, I'm not sure how it's gonna be. But compared to China, right? I think they are lacking of talents, right? They are lacking of proper manpower to actually conduct an esports event. That's why I don't remember the university name, but that's why they come up with their own really good syllabus of actually producing more and more talents. All right, more and more talents. What I mean is not just about shoutcasting. I think it's the people that are working in the industry directly. For example, all these producers, engineers, audio engineers, so many angles that you can look at. Social media, content creation. I think the list goes on and on. You can Google them yourself, right? Now you can Google everything. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely a great sharing right here. All right. So I guess unfortunately we're very, very short on time. So I think we've actually crossed the border of the time provided as well. So we have to cut it short right here. So my apologies to everyone tuning in. But don't worry, if you do have any questions for our guest right here, either for Sir Cloud, either for Hazman himself, or even Clement, you can actually contact them through social media. You can just DM them privately, and they'll be more than happy to respond to your inquiries and more. Right? Just be a little bit careful when you PM Clement, all right? Because make a wrong move, he got lawyers. So, anyways, thank you so much, Sir Cloud. Thank you so much, Hazman. Thank you so much, Clement, for your insights on this. And hopefully all of you guys who are schooling watching have been entertained on the topic that we have actually had at hand. And we'll be passing it back over to our wonderful MC.
Thank you, Flavor, and thank you, gentlemen, for that great session with that relevant experience sharing, insights about the esports job opportunities, running a business, events, and also the community. With that final session, we have concluded day 3 of Digital Disruptors Week at MTM 2021. I'd like to thank all our speakers for powering our day for their outlooks, ideas, and insights on privatizing the digital economy. With this, we'd like to invite our participants to join us right here tomorrow, 9 a.m. But in the meantime, do check out the agenda for our satellite events happening throughout the MTM 2021 space. And we'll also invite the participants to make use of the virtual networking lounges available. You're also welcome to reach out to our event admin if you need any assistance. With that, we end our session. Malaysia, the heart of digital ASEAN. This is Hassan, your host, signing out for the day. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Stay safe, everyone.